signa. Entente. Procedite. Syndex, 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 syndex. Consistite. Odi, I'll say.
Taflwch olwg arnyn nhw, yn mynd a dod i'r gyd. Tir da sydd fan goes law.
Dwi'n oedd yr estroniad y tir na. Pwy ddywedodd y gael ei gipio?
Gofod yn y teulu i weithio.
Ac mae pob cop ohonoch chi yn gwneud heier yn ei cyfer nhw, a hwythau'n gwneud arfau. Mae'n galed os nad ydy'r gwaith ar gyfer dy deulu dy hun. O!
Dywel bleddyn, paid y ffwyni.
Fe ddweud eich chi be, a hoswch hyd at y gear. Bydd y ddiwes yn ein ffafrio ni. Ni wir yr estroniad twp na, a bydd yr afon yn ei gyrru nhw allan o gwersyll. Bydd afon wisg yn ei ysgubo y maith i gyd.
What did they say? What was so funny? Ah, the thought of the Roman invaders wasting their time building on the Usk floodplain. The Silurian tribesmen have stopped to look down on the work going on below them. The Romans are building the fortress they call Burium. It's needed because they have found the ferocious Silurians hard to subdue. They can't be pinned down. They attack suddenly from all directions and slip away before a platoon can be formed up. The Silurians will not be tamed for another 35 years. And they are right about the flooding. The Romans will have to move their camp downstream to Cullian. For another thing, there's no tide up as far as Usk, and the supply boats can't make it up this far. The Saxons, another threat that appears with the passing of time. But the victory of Tudric, king of Gwent, at Pontisison, keeps the Saxons out of his kingdom. And the great leader Arthur fights a battle at Baden to keep the Saxons from engulfing the West. A battle that echoes down the centuries, won by a hero who will one day return to lead the Britons against all invaders. The once and future king. Now it's the year 1065, and a military fury descends on Gwent. Another Saxon, Harold Godwinson, Earl of Gloucester, comes to claim this land. Saxon houses appear on the banks of the Usk, a Saxon church, and a hunting lodge at Portskewett, where he hopes to entertain the aged King Edward and bid for his own succession to the throne. The hunting is good, and boar is plentiful in these woods. But Harold has no time to enjoy hunting boar. Events are moving fast. He's called north to repel a Norwegian invasion. Then he races south to meet a new and determined invader, William the Conqueror. Harold has a date with death at Hastings. Meanwhile, the Prince of Cullian, Caradoc ap Griffith, is angry that Harold has built his palatial lodge on the site of the prince's own court. At once he attacks and burns the lodge, and Harold's servants are killed. But now there erupts an invasion of a more far-reaching kind, transforming the way of life in this border country. By right of conquest, William the Norman assumes Harold's claim to Lower Gwent as part of the earldom of Hereford. He moves in, quickly ordering a chain of castles along the borders of Wales. Early on, William recognizes the need to control the fierce and stubborn Welsh. But the lords of the marches, or borderlands, have freedom to act independently of the king, and soon they become powerful in their own right. William Fitz-Osbern is given the earldom of Hereford. He is the new king's cousin and was a trusted commander at the Battle of Hastings. Within a year, he begins possibly the first stone castle in the land, at Strigiu, now known as Chepstow, intended as a power base to impress and overawe the Welsh. And Caradoc's Motte and Bailey, here on the cliff above the River Usk, is taken over as part of the lordship of Strigiu. Thurston Fitzrolf, William's royal standard-bearer at Hastings. He now holds the lordship and has between the Usk and the Wye 17 ploughs. Winbal de Ballon, a Flemish knight. Walter de Clare, the Lord of Strigiu and Usk. Walter is already the rich and powerful owner of lands at Clare in the county of Suffolk, rich enough to found the abbey at Tintern. Richard Fitzgilbert, nephew of Walter. He has been visiting King Stephen and is returning to his lordship of Cardigan. He is overconfident and dismisses his bodyguard as he takes a short cut through woods near Llantoni. He is killed by men from Gwent, led by Iorwerth ap Owain, Caradoc's grandson. This bold attack is a flashpoint, sparking off revolts against the Normans throughout Wales. On the death of Walter de Clare in 1135, the Lord of Caerleon, Morgan ap Owain, strikes down the Usk Valley to claim possession of the castle and his right to his grandfather's kingdom of Gwent. But in 1173, the castle is back in the hands of the de Clare family. Richard, known as Strongbow, reasserts control, provisioning the castle of Usk, which the men of Earl Richard hold against the Welsh. Timber palisades are no longer enough. A stone keep has to be built. Richard Strongbow grants a charter to found a Benedictine priory for the protection of virgins of noble birth. The new town of Usk is planned around the priory and given market rights. Norman, English, and Flemish families are attracted to settle here. Strongbow has left for Ireland. He has married the daughter of the King of Leinster and has made himself unpopular with King Henry II. He is too successful in his conquests there. The king is jealous of Strongbow's power. He must try to keep a balance between the Welsh princes and the Marcher lords. So when Howell ap Iorwerth seizes the chance to take Usk Castle and the town, the king does not intervene. He leaves Howell in possession, in revenge on the unruly and troublesome Strongbow. Howell has survived a savage massacre at Abergavenny. He holds a feast for his people in this castle, which he feels is rightfully his as Prince of Caerleon. The men lay their weapons aside, trusting in the tradition that a feast is a sacred time.
Croeso cynnes, Geraint. Gyfeillion, croeso i'r wledd hon. Yfwch y mydd da. Byddwch yn llawen, dyr enawn gefnder. Gad i ni roi heibio ein cwrylon.
Wel, da ti weld ti. Ti'n edrych yn dda ar ôl brwydr mor galed. Ti dyma, ysgwyd y llaw.
Tra mwy o
If you want a story, I'll give you a story. The kingdom of Britain was without a king. He had been poisoned. The throne was now empty and there was no one to reign over the Britons. Worse than that, people were quarrelling about who should be the next king. At last Merlin called the nobles of the land to a conference. Only the aristocracy attended, men of blue blood, and their wives as grand as queens. Every man longed to be crowned King of Britain. They were expecting feasts and dancing at the meeting, but Merlin instructed them to pray.
Pray for God to send us a sign to tell us which of you is to be king.
They prayed and prayed all night. By the morning, a rock had appeared shaped like an anvil with a sword stuck in it. You know what was written on the sword. Whoever can pull this sword out of the anvil is the rightful king of Britain.
It seems that none of you is to be king. We must open the contest to everyone in the country.
And Arthur bore the royal crown with dignity and ruled wisely for the rest of his days. He is but sleeping in our time, and one day, my lord, he will come again amongst us to drive out the foreign usurpers.
Trigolion broedd a braniau, dewch I rambo hyn o eiriau, a gewch hanes rhywun fochyn, a fi farw andrasadyn, o mod drwm radim ni, o mod drwm radim ni, a mae amal ar chalon, ar ôl claddu'r mochyn di. La 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 la.
A traitor has done a deal with the English. He opens the gate to the king's soldiers. The castle is lost to the princes of Clare. Prince Howell is wounded to death. Spirits from another world honor his cloak and sword at his proud burial.
available and bring a little bit in from the garden, whatever.
People of Usk, a play brought to you fresh from London. See the play of the sinner and heaven and hell.
With its charter, the town of Usk has grown and prospered. The market is flourishing. But the Welsh from the Welshries on the higher ground have never needed markets and resent being forced to bring in their produce for sale. It is the year 1188, and terrible news has reached the town. The Saracen leader Saladin has defeated Richard the Lionheart at the Horns of Hattin and has captured the holy city of Jerusalem. Baldwin, Archbishop of Canterbury, is making a journey through Wales to preach the Third Crusade. He is appalled that the Holy Cross itself, the true cross, is in the possession of the infidel Saladin. And he is seeking to persuade the people of Wales, English and Welsh alike, to fight in the Holy Land. He also has another purpose: to impose the authority of Canterbury over the unregulated Welsh churches.
Come forward, all you brave people of Usk, and pray with your Archbishop for the courage to scourge the infidel and rout him out of Jerusalem. No man worthy of the name of Englishman or Welshman will not heed the call. You should join the crusade, regain our glory. Baldwin will lead us.
Who is this Baldwin then?
He's the Archbishop of Canterbury. This crusade must be pretty special.
The crusade in the east against Saladin is for God. A holy battle for the Holy Land.
So why should we join the crusade? After all, I ain't got enough money for weapons.
You could gain land from this crusade.
Really? So I will no longer be poor? Rich at last?
I reckon so.
Rich? You'll be lucky. It's not for the likes of us.
Deus qui conteris bella, in te sperantium, potentia tuae defensionis
the assailants of those
expugnas.
who trust in thee.
Auxiliare
Help us, thy
famulis
servants, who
tuis.
entreat thy mercy, so that our barbarous enemies be brought low, and we may never cease to praise and thank thee.
Anwaraidd, ac nac fydd diwedd in moliant, ac in diolchiadau I ti, troi'n harlwydd Iesu Grist. Amen.
Deus venerunt gentes, in hereditatem tuam. Poelerunt templum sanctum tuum. Poeserunt Jerusalem in pomorum custodiam.
Listen to the psalm. O God, the heathen are come into thine inheritance.
Who is that man?
A priest called Gerald. He's offered to guide the Archbishop through these parts, but I think God has sent him. He's a holy man.
Come forward, take the cross. Your reward will be in heaven.
I will go, for the good of the Holy Land, and we will conquer back what is rightfully ours.
And me? After all, our master has been good to us. I'll back him.
Are you sure?
Yes, he can be trusted to look after us.
I'll sign up with him.
Oh, fool you.
I will give you swords to fight for your country.
Much as I feel the urgency of the call, The weight of my responsibilities in this town precludes an early departure.
That's right, John. You can't go.
And I have some new property to attend to, and some business which can't wait.
Who'll look after my family?
I'm too busy.
I must go on a journey to collect debts.
My neighbour will steal my wife if I'm away from home.
This town of Usk will be dishonoured if no one else joins the crusade.
I have the solution. The felons and murderers and highwaymen in the town jail.
Let the criminals go. They can sign up in our place.
What a good idea. Our town can send men to the crusade.
Good idea. Send them, send them.
Bandits! Murderers! Do you want a place in heaven? A place with God? This battle will clear your sin.
The most notorious evildoers, murderers, robbers and thieves are converted, to the marvel of many people.
In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti.
Gerald of Wales, descended on his mother's side from the princes of Wales and on his father's from Norman barons of the March. Thanks to his mother's Welsh connections, he will guarantee the Archbishop's safety when they travel through the wilds of Wales. He is energetic and endlessly curious about what he sees and hears on his journey. Gerald of Wales.
My name is Geraldus Cambrensis. Don't name me in that barbarous English tongue. Heard of a two-headed calf at Monmouth? I'll tell you something about the Welsh. They would make very good fighters, if only they learnt some discipline and didn't go leaping about all over the place.
Geraldus is a priest with high ambition, educated in the schools of Paris. He would like to be Archbishop of St. David's in an independent Welsh church. As for that kindly man, Archbishop Baldwin, he practices what he preaches. He will die in the east at the siege of Acre. There's some serious work going on here. A new way of building castle defences. A stone curtain wall combined with sturdy round towers. They can't be undermined like square towers, and they give an all-round field of fire. No blind spots. One of the most powerful men in the world is here at Usk, strengthening his castle in the same new continental style as he has done at Chepstow. William Marshall was once a poor knight with no land of his own. He has made his own way in the world by his great skill in combat and his noble and steadfast character. By the time of his death, he will have faithfully served 5 kings of England. He has returned from Ireland, fighting for King John. He is the most powerful of the Marcher Lords, and he guards the borders of Wales, keeping the Welsh under control. For a while.
William, my son, listen to me. I mean to take Culzean when Usk is secure. Those Culzean princes are too puffed up, you know, with their tall towers and their golden roofs. We shall pull down those old buildings, starting with that confounded tetrapile. Nothing but a nuisance, and it blocks the way at the crossroads. A four-sided arch. What pretension.
Many fine Roman buildings which have survived a millennium and more will disappear. The magnificent triumphal arch at Culzean is taken down stone by stone, perhaps to be built into these walls at Usk. The new King Richard has rewarded Marshall for his services with a hand in marriage of Isabel de Clare. She is a great heiress, a rich prize. She has brought William lands in England, Ireland, France, and the Welsh Marches. William and Isabel have 10 children, 5 boys and 5 girls. Each boy inherits in turn, but all die without issue. So the succession at Usk will depend on this young lady, Isabella. Will she take after her mother? The Lady Isabel is a great lady in her own right, and takes chief place in the council of the Marshal's men.
Welcome to the workshop, my dear. Take care.
You've made great progress, I see.
Oh, well, there's no time to lose. That so-called prince from North Wales with the unpronounceable name, Llewellin ap your wealth. The lesser princelings are joining up with him. Either he conquers them, blackmails them, or he marries them off to his daughters. He will soon rule Wales entirely if we don't stop him.
Your men are well trained. You will defeat him.
If I can find him. Let's talk of other matters. What do you think? When you tire of your new rooms at Strigule, you can take the sweet air of Usk.
Yes, it's beautiful here. But when do I have time to take my ease? I'm always travelling with you.
Ah, here comes Herbert. I have something to give your eldest son great pleasure. William, come here. You're interested in falconry, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Well, what do you see? Do you like what you see?
Yes, Father. It's a saker.
Ah, he has an eye for a bird, I see. Well, I know nothing of falconry. I never had time.
Always fighting.
Herbert, here. This is my son, William. You're to be his falconer and train him in the art.
I always wanted to learn.
Ah, well, Herbert will set up a muse for you. His birds come from the wild cliffs of Pembroke.
You were partly right. The bird is of the saker kind, but a male, a sacret. He'll be mewed up all summer, molting. We'll start in August.
Don't I get anything? Your turn will come, Richard.
William Marshall succeeds in capturing Clare in 1217. Let me introduce our very own historian, Adam of Usk. Adam is a priest whose father was the gatekeeper of this castle. Edmund Mortimer, Lord of Usk, has sponsored his education at Oxford.
Ah, memories. Memories of this fair place. Here I was born and ran and played. And seeing that within the walls of the same monastery there is built a certain chapel in honour of St. Radegund, Virgin Nun, once Queen of France, whereunto the men of the country bear great reverence.
It's Easter time, and let's say 1271. The nuns of the Benedictine Priory of Usk are celebrating the feast day of St. Radegund. The priory has an unusual double dedication to Mary Magdalene and to the French saint Radegund, a queen who gave up her royal marriage for a life of hardship and seclusion. Paradoxically, from her cell she corresponded with kings and wielded great power and influence. Now the Lord of Usk, Gilbert de Clare, Gilbert the Red, has married a French noblewoman, Alice de la Marche. But he has divorced her because she has borne him no sons. Perhaps on being cast aside, she receives sympathy and support from the nuns of Usk. In gratitude, she donates a precious relic of St. Radegund. What can it be in that shrine so venerated? A shapely skull? Or perhaps just a finger? The aristocratic nuns attend the offices of the day, matins and lauds at night, prime in the morning, ending with vespers and complin at night. And they pass their time in gentle pursuits, some gardening, embroidery, spinning, simple teaching and nursing, and perhaps a little too much visiting of friends. Now St. Radegund returns to her home in her chapel near the priory. Gilbert the Red marries for the second time. Joan of Acre, an illustrious lady, daughter of Edward I, a fiery, spirited princess. He builds this tower to house his treasury. Joan of Acre lives on here after his death and supervises the castle and the collection of revenue. Joan of Acre does give Gilbert a son, Gilbert, and 3 daughters. This Gilbert de Clare dies at the Battle of Bannockburn, and his widow Matilda completes the building of the Great Hall. Matilda maintains she is pregnant, so the division of the lordships between Gilbert's sisters has to be delayed until the phantom pregnancy has more than run its course. Elizabeth de Clare is the youngest of those 3 sisters. She has been married 3 times but keeps the name of her first husband, de Burgh. Her share of the inheritance is the lordship of Usk and the lands of Clare. Elizabeth and her 3rd husband, Roger d'Amory, have been building here, adding a solar to the Great Hall and a chapel. Chiefly, they have improved the castle's defences. These are dangerous times. The Marcher Lords are in revolt against King Edward II because he has given licence to his favourite, Hugh Despencer, to build up a power base in South Wales. Elizabeth is intent on preserving the inheritance of her de Burgh son, William, the Earl of Ulster, and she keeps him safely at her side.
My lady, your sister is here, the Lady Eleanor.
Eleanor, my dear Eleanor, I wasn't expecting you. You didn't send a message. But how marvellous to see you. Have you come from far?
We had business in the Gower. My husband and his father are here too.
Why are they here?
By the power invested in me as King's Chancellor, and by the permission of His Grace King Edward, I open this inquiry into the rights of the Lordship of Usk.
No need for all that stuff, Chancellor. The rights are mine. The King has promised me this castle and all its lands. Lady Elizabeth, you are to forfeit the lordship in exchange for some part of the Gower lordship, and that's being generous.
But they are not at all of the same value, and you have no right to the Gower anyway.
You have no choice in the matter.
Your husband D'Amory is a traitor who has fought against us and the King. I believe he is even now dying of his wounds. And as widow of a traitor, you will have no rights to any lands or property.
Take my advice and accept the Gower portion.
For my son's sake, I will not give up any part of his inheritance.
You are to leave at once. Take the keys from her. Escort them to be confined at the Abbey at Barking.
Elizabeth and her family are imprisoned for a time at Barking near London. She fears for her life and that of her son, William de Burgh. The King's favourite, Hugh Despencer, is greedy and ruthless. The acquisitiveness of the Despensers, father and son, antagonises many people. the Marcher lords rise against Edward II, and Elizabeth de Burgh herself contributes Welsh soldiers to the rebellion. Edward's estranged wife, Queen Isabella, comes over from France with an invading army, to which there is almost no opposition. After her victory over the king at the Battle of Bristol, the Despensers, one by one, are captured and executed in various horrible ways. Edward II is imprisoned at Berkeley Castle, until he too is dispatched even more cruelly. The Queen rules, along with her lover Roger Mortimer, during the childhood of her son, Edward III. Now comes an amazing reversal of fortune. Elizabeth's castle here at Usk is restored to her by the new King Edward III. She returns with her household in November 1326 and gives orders for a great Christmas feast. She is a good administrator and keeps records so we know what is on the menu. Every creature that can walk or swim or fly.
Write this down, Walter, and make sure there are no mistakes. Here is a carcass of beef and another quarter of beef, 1.5 bacon carcasses, a mutton carcass and another, some portions of boar. Count in the 5.5 beasts of the chase from the stores. For the 2 heads of boar and 2 more portions of boar, 7 shillings. That makes a total of 32 shillings and 7 pennies. Walter, have you got all that? Now let's be having the poultry. Swans 3, herons 2. What's this? Bitterns? All right, 2 bitterns, 2 egrets, 6 capons. Piglets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I said poultry. Some geese, 1, 2, and some more. 12 geese in all. Piglets again. Does no one listen? A milk churn, 3 full gallons. Is it? A load of chickens. How many have you got there? Call it 24, Walter. Hens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, God, that's gone rotten. Take it away. Go on, away with you. What's that, boy? A woodcock, is it? Mark him up for half a penny, Walter. And some more woodcocks. That's more like it. 18 woodcocks. That's 10 pennies, Walter. Eggs? Oh, not more eggs. Make sure you count them, Walter. Call it 3 dozen. That makes 800 altogether today. 3 shillings and 4 pennies in total. Mark it up, Walter. What's in those sacks? Wheat. I know you, boy. You're from Llangibby. 1.5 bushels. Mark him up 10 pennies. Apples, apples are coming out of our ears. 2pence, Walter. Walter, we're not finished yet. Rushes and herbs for the main hall. Mark them up 2 shillings and 4 pennies. That's it. No more goods. You can all go home.
The guests arrive for the feast, and here is the family with friends. The Lady Elizabeth de Burgh, Countess of Ulster, and her son William, Earl of Ulster. Her great friend Marie de St. Paul, Countess of Pembroke. The Lady Prioress of Usk. Eleanor, Lady Despencer, and her son Gilbert. Archdeacon John Pascal. The Abbot of Evesham. William, Lord Montague. The Lady Stafford. The Lady Talbot. Roger, Lord Mortimer. In the upheavals of the reign of Edward II, Elizabeth de Burgh has shown her courage and tenacity. Fortunately, the second part of her life under Edward III is peaceful. She remains a widow and lives at Usk Castle until her move to Clare in Suffolk in 1350. She continues building at the castle, making it comfortable to live in. And she encourages trades in the town, especially weaving. The Black Death. In 1369, the last of the 3 outbreaks of this terrible plague ravages Usk, Raglan, Llantrisant and Caerleon. This family's holding at Llantrisant will remain empty and unused for years. This little boy, Tum, thinks they have cousins at Abergavenny. Bravely, he and his sister set out to find them. It is a holy day, Easter Sunday. The townsfolk are on their way to a special celebration of Mass. But some people stay away. The soldiers on guard duty at the prison. 2 young men skiving church to have some sword play. And a certain lady with her lover.
It does grieve me very much, you know, to have to record this scandal. At this same time, certain burgesses of the town of Usk, secretly leaving the church during the service of the Passion of our Lord, craftily entered into the castle and, breaking prison, set free one John Fitzpiers, late seneschal therein, who, having been accused by evil report of adultery with a certain lady, shall I tell the truth? Well, it was the Lady Prioress.
You daft.
No, it's impossible to write something so shameful. Let me scratch it out. Of adultery with a certain lady, had been to all men's wonder condemned to death by Sir Edward Charlton, who was her natural brother, and now lay naked undergoing punishment. And they delivered him to the Lord of Abergavenny, in his castle at Abergavenny, to their great delight, although for this reason, on account of seduction, he was afterwards exiled by the king.
Where would you ever know what a story? Can you? Well, it's very shocking. What happened now? Goodness knows. But what they're thinking about.
Adam of Usk keeps the lady's secret, but allows himself some private thoughts on the subject.
A certain lady? Why should I be so coy when writing history for hoi polloi? I tell you now what you already guess. 'Tis crystal clear, it was the prioress, adulterous no less with John Fitzpiers, before he slips his chains and disappears. Strike out a certain lady, right instead, he got the lady prioress into bed. That shall I write, it is the very truth, I know it is. Yet I can give no proof. So let it lie, fictional tale or fact, the lady's honour must remain intact.
The lords of Usk Castle have been among the most powerful nobles of England and Wales. But ladies too have played an important part in the history of this castle. When their husbands are away at war, or as widows, they must administer the estates. Let them have their turn in the limelight. Here is one of our earliest chatelaines, Elizabeth de Beaumont. She marries Gilbert de Clare and witnesses the first Usk Charter. A strong character, she is said to have been one of Henry I's many mistresses.
The Lady Elizabeth is wearing a gown with bands of fine embroidery, and her delicate linen veil is held in place by a luxurious fillet.
Isabella de Clare, such a valuable heiress that she is kept safe in the Tower of London until Richard I gives her as a bride to William Marshall.
An elegant, fitted dress banded in the de Clare colours is very suitable for Lady Isabel's high position.
Isabella Marshall, Isabel de Clare's daughter. None of Isabella's 5 Marshall brothers has any heirs. They say as a result of an Irish bishop's curse. The combined lordship of Usk and Strigul is split at this point, and Isabella brings Usk back into the de Clare family when she marries another Gilbert.
An overdress over a kirtle for this young lady. Now that she is married, her hair is covered with a veil held in place by a circlet and a barbette to frame her face. So flattering.
Maud de Lacy marries Richard de Clare, becoming daughter-in-law to Isabella. From the time of the death of her husband in 1262, she is in sole charge of Usk for nearly 30 years.
Maud has chosen a richly coloured surcoat. The big feature is the side lacing forming a complex pattern.
Joan of Acre, Princess of England, the daughter of Edward I. She brings royal blood to the de Clare line. She was born at Acre in Israel, and lucky to escape the Saracens.
The Princess Joan is wearing a flowing surcoat and wimple, ideal for the older lady.
Elizabeth de Burgh, Joan of Acre's daughter. She is responsible for making the castle a comfortable and charming place to live. She founded Clare College in Cambridge.
Over her kirtle, the Lady Elizabeth is wearing a sideless surcoat of damask fabric from the east. How charming! And the Countess, looking radiant, wears a sideless surcoat over a blue cotehardie with long red tippets.
Philippa Mortimer, known for her kindness, liberality, and the severity of her morals. Now the Mortimer name enters the dynasty. Philippa is the granddaughter of Edward III, bringing more royal connections, and she marries Edmund Mortimer, Earl of March. Their son, Roger Mortimer, is named as heir to the throne. He is baptized at Usk. The Mortimer line eventually leads to King Edward IV. The Welsh bard Iolo Goch writes his only poem in praise of an Englishman.
Sir Roger of the Azure Shield, Sir Roger of Great Mortimer, White Lord, Bud of Usk, Princely Hawk of worthy blood.
Now away to the borders of North Wales, where something significant is happening. On Thursday, the 16th of September, 1400, in a small settlement called Glyndefrydwy, family, friends and neighbours proclaim a new Prince of Wales. A man of noble blood, descended on his mother's side from Llewellyn, the last Prince of Wales, and on his father's side from the Princes of Powys. You might have heard of him. Owain Glyndŵr. He is a polished gentleman, trained in law at the Inns of Court in London. He has served in the English King's army on campaign in Scotland. But he is suffering from a deep sense of injustice. The English Parliament has dismissed his case concerning a dispute with an English neighbour, Lord Grey of Ruthin, and called him a Welsh rascal.
What care we for these barefoot Welsh doggies? Rascals!
Hatred of English rule imposed by Edward I and oppression by the Marcher Lords is swelling and festering in this unhappy land. Within days of the proclamation, Owain and his followers attack the towns of Ruthin, Oswestry and Welshpool, and open revolt flares up. A comet with a blazing tail appears in 1402, just like the mighty star which once heralded the coming of Arthur. The bard Iolo Goch writes a poem to celebrate this good omen. After successes in the north, Glyndŵr's army reaches Gwent. Some of the Welsh from around Usk join his revolt against the English. The town and castle of Usk are set on fire. Adam of Usk.
Concerning such an ill-starred blow given by Owain to the English rule, when I think thereon my heart trembles. For, backed by a force of 30,000 men, issuing from their caves throughout Wales and its marches, he overthrew castles, among which were Usk, Caerleon, and Newport, and fired the towns. In short, like a second Assyrian, the rod of God's anger. He did deeds of unheard of cruelty, with fire and sword. These things I heard of in Rome.
Ah, so Adam, you weren't actually there. Keeping a safe distance from the conflict, were we? But you did have a care for the priory. You petitioned the Pope for help for the nuns, didn't you?
Owing to burnings, spoilings and other misfortunes, which have been caused by the wars which raged in those parts, the monastery hath come to such want that the sisters will be forced to beg for food and clothing, straying throughout the country.
Let's now look in on a gathering at Sycharth, Glyndwr's home. Iolo Goch calls Sycharth a mansion of generosity. Here we'll see another side of Glyndwr. His family's all together for a short while. Margaret Hanmer is his wife, a charming woman of noble extraction, the best of wives. His children come in pairs. Iolo Goch again, a beautiful nest of chieftains. Henry IV's campaign of retaliation after his defeat at Pilloth is a failure. It rains and rains in mid-Wales. Lightning flashes and thunder rolls around the peaks. The Welsh attack the English in the sodden valleys and melt away out of reach to the mountains. King Henry blames Glyndwr's magic powers.
You know the English king called you a sorcerer?
Yes, as he lay locked in his armour which had rusted onto him overnight. Dyna rhyfedd, say.
Well, can you really do magic?
Well, I'm told I can call spirits from the vasty deep.
Yes, but will they come when you do call for them?
Oh, that old joke.
Do some real magic for us, Father.
Merlin, what message do you have for me? You show me a vision of Arthur. Merlin, is this a sign? You tell me I am the new Arthur, the son of prophecy. I am the Mab Darogan. I feel the power rising in me. It is my destiny to unite the people of Wales and lead them to freedom. I harwain nhw I ryddid.
Nothing now remains of Glyndwr and the lovely estate of Sycharth, only ditches and mounds. Prince Hal came looking for Glyndwr. He burnt his homes to the ground, but he never found him. Glyndwr's seal shows him as sovereign in an independent Welsh nation.
I have captured Castell Conwy, and now the great castles of Harlech and Aberystwyth have also fallen to us.
In 3 years, Glyndwr has won command of Wales, and established his court at Harlech Castle.
I am now deciding matters for the welfare of my realm.
It is time to call a parliament.
I have chosen Machynlleth at the midpoint of Wales for the site of my first parliament. We shall be a proper nation with our own universities, one in the north and one in the south, for the education of clerks. Our Welsh church shall be independent of Canterbury as once it was. St. David's will be our archbishopric, and we shall have our own saints back. After all, we have enough of them.
Glyndŵr is crowned Prince of Wales and becomes an international player. Envoys from the French court promise an army to fight England, their common enemy. March 1405. Glyndŵr is capturing castle after castle along the coast of South Wales. A large Welsh force under Rhys Gethin attacks the prosperous town of Grosmont, pillaging and burning it. Unknown to them, inside Grosmont Castle, there is a smaller but well-disciplined English force, led by Lord Talbot and Sir John Grendour. The English make a sudden sortie, taking the Welsh by surprise. 800 Welshmen are slaughtered. The defeated Welsh straggle down to Usk, destroying Trostry on the way. But Sir John Grendour has ridden fast ahead of them to warn the garrison at the castle.
Close the gates! Prepare your defences! The Welsh are coming! Pick up the barrier! Lift it up! Hurry! Get it across the gates! Prepare your weapons! We will make a sortie of the Let's move!
Our historian, Adam of Usk, will tell you the tale of the Battle of Porchmelen.
On the feast of St. Gregory, Griffith, eldest son of Owen, with a great following, made assault in an evil hour for himself on the castle of Usk, which had been put into some condition for defence, and wherein at that time were Lord Grey of Codnor, Sir John Grendour, and many other soldiers of the king.
The Welsh were not expecting the castle to be garrisoned. Their hasty attack fails. They retreat to camp overnight at Porchmelen, the Yellow Pool, half a mile from Usk Castle. The English ride out to battle at dawn to take the Welsh by surprise. Lord Grey of Codnor, overall commander in South Wales. Sir John Grendour. A Welshman, Dafydd ap Llewellyn, nicknamed Dafydd Gam for his squint.
Os di Glyndŵr I hynna'n ddim allan fi ladda I ei chi bach byder o fab.
Dafydd Gam is a wild one. A Welshman who supports the English. He once got close enough to Glyndŵr to attack him with a dagger. Abbot John of Llantarnam Abbey prays as the Welshmen sleep. He is one of the Cistercians who rally to the cause of Glyndŵr, a man of great wisdom and intense personal devotion.
Take your rest, men. I pray to Christ for your bodies and souls, For today you must meet your foes, the English, who come to us in insolent numbers and arrogance. Now it is time to arm yourselves and make ready for the battle, for the time is come. Defend your homes, your wives and children. Come, rise up and take your arms. Today we fight for your fatherland and heritage. Today we shall meet in triumph after the battle, or we shall meet in heaven in the company of Jesus Christ.
Ar gilyn yn dod.
Gyfarwch i chi, yn mwyntiw a Glyndŵr.
Rydydd
I lawr y
Lawr y Saeson.
Er mwyntiw Glyndŵr. Let's go!
For these same lords, sallying forth manfully, took Griffith captive, and pursuing his men even to the hill country of higher Gwent, through the river Usk, there slew with fire and the edge of the sword many of them, and above all the abbot of Llantarnam. And they crushed them without ceasing, driving them through the monk's wood, where the said Griffith was taken.
The English are triumphant when they find the body of Owain Glyndŵr.
Look, it's Glendower. Glendower is dead.
Ha! The villain will trouble us no more. Which of you killed him? Me, my lord, I gave him his death blow.
But Owain has not been present at the battle. The body is that of his brother Tudor. The difference is that Tudor does not have a wart on his face.
Look!
Oh no. It's not Glendower.
It's his younger brother.
And their captives, to the number of 300, they beheaded in front of the same castle near Ponfald. And certain prisoners of the more noble birth they brought, along with the same Griffith, to the king. The which Griffith, being held in captivity for 6 years, at last, in the Tower of London, was cut off by a pestilence. And from that time forth in those parts, the fortunes of Owain waned.
The rebellion takes many more years to run its course, but in the end the king's great cannon settle it. Aberystwyth is pounded, and Harlech is besieged and captured after 8 months. Glyndwr's wife and children are taken and imprisoned in the Tower of London. The rebellion wrecks Welsh life for a century. Towns and villages, and especially mills, have been destroyed. Stern laws against the Welsh are placed on the statute book. Some of the tenants and residents of Usk, Caerleon and Trelech have fought on Glyndwr's side, but in this town of Usk, reconciliation is in the air. Amazingly, in 1407, pardon is granted to them for their felonies and insurrection. Even Owain Glyndwr is offered a pardon by the new king, Henry V. He disdains to reply. Was Glyndwr's fight for freedom all in vain? Terrible though the experience has been, Owain has changed the course of history and given new birth to the spirit of Welsh nationality. Owain is now no longer Prince of Wales, but an outlaw on the run. He is seen from time to time on his wanderings in the hills.
He runs, a hunted creature now, and to his northern mountains fled, his own dear Griffith in the tower, and many hundred Welshmen dead.
Did I do wrong? Owain. Owain. Was I wrong?
No one knows where or when Glyndwr dies. He disappears from our story, leaving a lasting legend behind. The Wars of the Roses, the long struggle between Lancastrians and Yorkists for the throne. It settled in favour of a Yorkist. Edward, Earl of March, of royal descent, is a brilliant soldier and a clever politician. He emerges as the first Yorkist king, Edward IV. The bards celebrate him as the new King Arthur. So now the lordship of Usk is in royal hands. The steward of Usk Castle is William Herbert, known as Black William. Here he is with his wife. They live in Newmarket Street, Usk. King Edward is investing Black William as Earl of Pembroke, and so the house of Herbert is on its way. This tableau does not tell the whole story. You see, the king is very fond of women. Now he's made an ill-considered marriage, not as he should for political reasons, but for love to a perfect beauty. But she causes a great deal of trouble. She is intent on gaining power for her numerous Lancastrian relations. Here she is, Elizabeth, the Woodville Queen.
My dear, who is this upstart? One of your cronies?
The newly invested Earl and Countess of Pembroke.
What, dearest? You have given this commoner an earldom? What about my Woodville family? My brothers, cousins, uncles? Have they not a greater claim to honours? You'll be sorry, I can tell you. Very sorry.
Edward IV dies young at 41, leaving the young King Edward V and the little Duke of York under the protection of the King's brother Richard, Duke of Gloucester. Richard has been actively loyal up to this point, but before the young King Edward can be crowned, Richard, the boy's uncle, usurps the throne. The princes are imprisoned in the Tower of London. The elder brother is charming and dignified, and the younger one is full of life and fun. Richard brings out the old story that their father was not legally married to the Woodville Queen.
Well, you know those young boys in the tower? It turns out they were illegitimate. It's sad, absolutely. People have been saying, you know, that a wrong might have been done. But look, it's important to be very clear about this. I am happy to take full responsibility for the way in which this issue has been presented. It's absolutely right that an apology should be made. Hey, you know, I'm a straight kind of fellow. And what I say to you, as I have said many times on numerous occasions, is some things are necessary for good order. I think we must draw a line under this and move on.
The boys are not seen again after 1485. Soon the people turn from Richard in revulsion after the mysterious deaths of the young king and his brother. The House of York is tearing itself apart. A young exile has landed from Brittany at Dale near Pembroke. The Welsh people flock to the standard of Henry Tudor, of royal descent and Welsh blood. Henry Tudor is descended from Llewellyn the Great and from John of Gaunt through his mother, Lady Margaret Beaufort. He is the only claimant left after the Wars of the Roses. The young Lancastrian Henry wins the day at the Battle of Bosworth. Richard is killed, the last English king to die on a battlefield. To all sides, this seems like a new beginning. The Welsh feel that the long struggle with the English has ended in glorious victory. The prophecies of the bards have been fulfilled, and a Welshman is on the throne of England. The great Tudor dynasty is launched. King Henry VII has this day summoned his court to celebrate the knighting of his firstborn son, Arthur, Prince of Wales. He is named after the legendary king to herald a new age of ancient virtues. The Queen is Elizabeth of York, daughter of Edward IV and holder of the Lordship of Usk. That boisterous 9-year-old boy has a great future. He will one day be known as King Henry VIII.
May Prince Arthur's sword be a defence of churches, widows and orphans, and all thy servants against the scourge of the pagans.
I pray your grace and the Queen and all the royal family will deign to look upon a wondrous spectacle which my humble troop has prepared for your entertainment. First, in thankfulness at the end of strife and all contentiousness, we celebrate the miraculous union of the Red Rose of Lancaster with White Rose of York, which represents our gracious Queen, Elizabeth of York. A tourney will now be held to honour the ladies. Will the White Knight present himself to the court? And now, the Black Knight.
At my court I will show you better sport than this.
Oh, Henry, what have you done? Don't show off like that.
Is there a doctor in the house?
Here come I, the doctor, with my bag and my tinctures, my funnel and pincers. Whatever your ills, I have the pills.
If this tourney has not found favour with the young Prince Henry, we may yet please the court with the play of the dragons. Now once there was a bad king, Vortigern was his name, betrayed the Britons to the Saxons, but wouldn't take the blame. He took himself to Wales, where he tried to hide, built himself a castle, high and wide. He built it every day, but it fell down at night. 2 dragons sleep below, and they wake up and fight. The foundations are broken when they are awoken. For the building to succeed, the dragons must be freed. No need to be afraid, for we will do the deed. The winning dragon is the red one, and the white one is the dead one. Is there a doctor in the house?
Here come I, the doctor.
As you see, my lords and ladies, the white and the red are reconciled, and both will prosper under this present reign. May the story of the 2 dragons enlighten and inspire all those who, in spite of differences, must live and work together in peace.
Perhaps there is something about the air of this delightful place which inspires reconciliation and harmony. This castle was constructed for war, fought over, destroyed, and then rebuilt for comfort and pleasure. May this last for future generations to enjoy.
A pretty town called Usk near Raglan stands, a river there crystal streams that runs along the sands shows that it is a river of great fame. A castle there in Usk yet remain, a seat where kings and princes have been born. It stands for Laura, a goodly pleasant plain. The walls wear off and towers are all too torn, with weather's blast and time that wears all out. And yet it hath a fair prospect about. Trim meads and walks along the riverside, with bridge well built, the force of flood to bide.
Most amazing show you've ever seen. A special show for Usk Castle next year. It's a sound and light show. That means to say it's in the dark, and it will have spectacular lighted effects. It'll have a sound tape, a sound track, which contains everything: music, voices, battle sounds, groans, cries, shrieks, every kind of noise that needs to be made will all be on the soundtrack. And so if you want to be an actor, one thing you don't have to do is learn any lines.
It's quite a difficult castle to do a thing in, because one side of it is very, it's inaccessible because it's so steep. And actors have got to move around. We have what we call rat runs, or runs for actors to be...
Glimpse at the Romans building Beaumont, the first town at Usk. We're not going to see any Romans, but we will see the Silurian tribesmen who lived here before we did, and their comments on the Romans. That'd be funny.
These are their military insignia, so their troops can actually look for them. If they get lost in battle, they know which banner to go to. And Lord Grey, his banner is held. They're going to assemble, they're going to muster this group of horsemen, and then they're going to ride out of the castle, and that's the last you'll see of those horses.
We've got lots of people involved. We've got Usk Primary School, we've got Dufferin High School in Newport, which is a great catch, and St Albans Roman Catholic School in Pontypridd.
Okay. That's lovely. Thank you very
First we've got to get the garden sheds up there,
yeah,
flat pack and then assemble them.
Right.
That is going to be the technical operation area, so for every night we're going to get the crew up there, and we were very concerned about that outdoor staircase.
Oh, you can get up inside. It's locked. Rose is coming up now.
Yes.
Well, they do. What would you like our wish list to be for Peter Morgan?
Well, there's cherry picker.
Up to the height of
up to the height to get these sheds, the equipment up onto the top of the tower.
Carrying a weight of...
I don't know what the weight would be.
There's a low tower, is it here? Beyond... Oh, no. It's just down here, actually, isn't it? Somewhere? There is a low wall where you could actually put a... There is it? Yeah. If we had a ladder over it all. Would it help if you had when I've updated this?
That's the key thing, because you don't have to substitute the entertainment with special effects.
Oh, we want it.
If it's something that we're trying to enjoy listening to,
we want it all. We want it all.
But we can't.
Y fwchymydd, da, byddwch yn llawen, dyr enawn gefnder, gad I ni roi heibio ein cwrylon.
Wel, da ti weld ti, ti'n edrych yn dda ar ôl brwydr mor galed. Ti dyma, ysgwyd y llaw.
What care we for these barefoot Welsh doggies?
Oh, rascals!
Gates and prepare your defences. The Welsh are coming. Bring up the barrier. Lift it up. Hurry! Get in across the gate. Prepare your weapons. We'll make a sortie at dawn.
Forward. To arms, knights, to arms.
Forward.
Father, I always wanted to learn.
Well, Herbert will set up a muse for you. His birds come from the wild cliffs of Pembroke.
Don't I get anything? Your turn will come.
Welcome to the workshop, my dear. Take care.
You've made great progress, I see.
That's well, there's no time to lose. That so-called prince from North Wales, with the unpronounceable name, Llewellin,
sword stuck in it. You know what you've written on the sword.
That's all, there's not enough
money for weapons. Gain land for this, I'd say. Really? So you no longer be poor?
Right, scene 14 now.